Hi everyone, I'm going to record a really short video on how to use MyLab effectively. So we're on pearsonmylabmastering.com. So if you can create an account if you don't already have one, you'd go here to register as student. I already have an account, so I'm just going to sign in. And so I have actually, the first time you create a username and a password, and then you can actually store it in the browser. It's best to use Chrome for this, and it might take you a little bit of time to get all the settings correctly. But you know, I know most students have used it at this point. If you don't, if you're having trouble with something, let me know. So this is our course. And so you're gonna come here. It looks like 12 people have signed up already. I've been recommending that people sign up for free 2-week access. At the end of 2 weeks, you'll have to pay for the access. There are a couple of options. If you're reasonably sure that you'll pass on the first go, so then just pay for the 18-week subscription. Now, if you're not sure, or if you need to take Calc B or Calc C, then you can sign up for a longer course. It costs a little bit more. I believe 18-week costs about $70, and a longer access costs 100 and something. Okay, so you get access to the e-text, which you will need. Because there are some exercises which are on paper. The list of these is available in the master document. Okay, something is not going quite right. There. It takes a little bit of time for the ebook to get started. Okay, so it's a fairly self-explanatory thing. You just go to the appropriate chapter and navigate. Here we go to menu. We start in chapter 2, limits and continuity, say 2.1. Okay. So I will have a look briefly at the master document just to see where the assignment is. Okay. It's in Google Drive. And I showed in the earlier video how to find it. So here's my master document. Right. So this says 2.1, right? Week 1, number 23, and it has multiple parts. This is the part that's going to be done on paper, and it's due on Friday midday on the discussion board. All right. So you come back here. All right. So this is the textbook. Go to 2.1. So you can actually go to 2.2 and kind of backtrack. It's easier. Right. So number 23 is on the previous page. Okay. So there it is. All right. So it's going to be, we're going to be looking at the function which is g of x equal to square root of x for x greater than or equal to 0, and finding the average rate of change. Okay. On given intervals, and then considering a whole bunch of different h values. Okay, so h here is a small increment of time. Okay, so here is a fairly large interval from 1 to 2, from 1 to 1.5, and here is from 1 to 1 plus a little bit. And this a little bit is going to change. It's 0.1, 0.01, 0.001, taking shorter and shorter and shorter time increments. Okay. And eventually, so you will look at this as the time interval. This time interval shrinks down to 0, and compute informally in this way. Compute a limit. Right. So hopefully this explains that part of the process. Right now, in addition to this, there is MyLab homework itself. I'm in the wrong part. Okay, so I'm going back to the course, and right here, and there are some assignments. So I've made all the assignments available. To believe that there's unlimited time and unlimited attempts, but there are some due dates. So these are, the first one, the review, is actually not graded. It's not, the grade is not going to be recorded later. But I urge you to try and do this. If you can't complete it by the end of the week, you should really reconsider your plans for the semester, because it's going to be very hard for you. MyLab, the good thing about it is going to teach you some things, so you can go in and do that. I wanted to show you how to navigate, right? So let's start here. So I clicked here, and there's question 1. I do believe they have to do with intervals. Yeah. Oh no, this has to do with factoring. Okay, so there's a question of bringing things to a common denominator here. Now, in order to speed up entry, okay, you have to do, I'll show you some shortcuts that you can use. So we need to bring things to a common denominator here, which is 7 times s. So in order to do that, we multiply the first fraction by 7 over 7, which is a fancy way of making a 1. So I have 9 over s times 7 over 7, okay, which gives me 63 divided by 7s plus 4 divided by 7s. So which gives me 67, I'm adding the numerators together, divided by 7s. So I'm going to enter it like that, 67, and then I put backslash, which brings me into the denominator, and then just 7s. Okay, and I push enter. Okay, oh, 57, I mistyped it. Okay, so that's not correct, so I have to correct. So I can just click in, okay, correct this, type 67. Okay, nice work. Next question. Now I wanted to, so I'm going to save this. You can return to this later. Okay. I wanted to actually do some things in the first homework. I do believe we have some integrated review here. And there were some things on the interval notation that I wanted to go over. Right. So looking at the number line here, we're dealing with real numbers exclusively in this course. So this number line is has some integers and all the rational and irrational numbers in between. So the blue part, okay, is indicating the interval, which you could say that this is the interval of all numbers which are less than or equal to, the square bracket indicates the equal to, yeah? 9, yeah? So 9 is kind of missing, so you have to infer it. So that corresponds to this interval, minus infinity to 9. Okay. You can actually, if you need to type infinity, you can type backslash inf, and that's going to make it much faster for you to enter. So, okay, I'm going to say enter, next question, and all right, so here's an inequality, and now I need to present it as an interval. So in order to do this, I need to review some things. So I have negative x, which is less than 5 and greater than minus 4. Now, you should remember that if you have a number, right, and you have an inequality, and then if you multiply each entry by minus 1, that flips the sense of the inequality. To kind of illustrate this, think about this for a second. If you know that 2 is less than 3, then what can you say about negative 2? Well, negative 2 is greater than negative 3. So the sense of the inequality flips. Right? So here it's very similar. So then we have that x is less than 4 and greater than negative 5. Okay, and then in the interval notation, this would be, okay, around parentheses, we have minus 5, comma, 4 in parentheses. Okay, so these parentheses mean that the endpoints are not included. You see, it's a strict inequality. Right, so I type, push enter, nice work. Okay, and now I'm asked to find it. Okay, so find the correct interval. So we're going from -5, which is this, up to 4. So it looks like it's this one. Okay, check answer. Okay, hopefully check answer. Yes, next question. Right, okay, so I'm gonna stop here, and we will talk about the other stuff. I'll include in another little video lecture with the board where I can play with you. So I'm gonna leave the site, and I think I'm gonna stop the recording. There's some other information on MyLab, but it has mostly to do with your scores, which I will be entering there for all the activities. Okay, all right. So see you soon. I hope you're getting enough orientation to get you started.